Word on the street is that the drama inside the CMG circle has reached a boiling point, and this time ain't about Yo Gotti or Moneybag Yo. No, this tea is about GloRilla. Yes, the breakout star, the hitmaker, the one who's been carrying female rap out of Memphis straight into the mainstream. According to messy whispers online, police allegedly pulled up to GloRilla's house for questioning after none other than Yo Gotti's own mother reportedly complained that Glo was threatening her. That's right, Gotti's mama. And if this story is even halfway true, it's not just family business spilling out, it's a full-blown crisis that could shake CMG from the inside out. So let's get into this, because the streets are buzzing, the blogs are working overtime, and fans are asking, what in the world could make Yo Gotti's mama, a woman who has stood in the background supporting her son's empire for years, call the police on one of his biggest artists? Buckle up, because this one is messy. To really understand the weight of this, you gotta understand where GloRilla stands in the game right now. Born and raised in Memphis, GloRilla exploded onto the scene with FNF, a track that became an anthem overnight. That energy, that raw Memphis sound, combined with her personality, made her an instant star. And when Yo Gotti signed her to CMG, it felt like a perfect match. Gotti has always been about putting Memphis on the map, and with Glo, he found lightning in a bottle. She wasn't just another artist on the roster. She was the face of a new wave. Female rappers in the South often have to fight twice as hard for their respect, but Glo didn't just fight. She kicked down the door. Within months, she was on award shows, touring with Cardi B, and proving she was more than just a one-hit wonder. But with success comes pressure. And with CMG being one of the most influential labels in hip-hop, that pressure isn't just about music. It's about loyalty, family ties, and keeping your place in the empire. That's where things start to get murky, because the rumors claim that behind all the glitz, things between Glo and the Gotti family weren't as smooth as fans thought. So here's where the story gets messy. According to online chatter, GloRilla allegedly had some sort of falling out with Yo Gotti's mother. Now, Gotti's mom has always been respected as a matriarch figure. She's kept a low profile, but everybody knows she has influence in her son's career and his circle. Some say the tension started over money. Others whisper it had to do with Glo's attitude, her independence, and her refusal to be controlled. Whatever the spark was, the rumor is that words were exchanged. And not just any words, but threats. Yo Gotti's mama allegedly told people that GloRilla was sending her messages, making her feel unsafe, and basically crossing a line you don't cross in Memphis. And if you know Memphis culture, you know that family is sacred. For Gotti's mom to even speak on it means it must have been serious in her eyes. Serious enough, reportedly, that she went to the police and filed a complaint. Now this is the part that really has fans gasping. According to the gossip mill, police actually came to GloRilla's house. Not with a warrant, not with cuffs, but for questioning. The story goes that they wanted to interrogate her, to hear her side, and to let her know that threats, if real, won't just slide. Imagine being Glo. One day you're performing at Rolling Loud. The next day cops are knocking at your door asking about Yo Gotti's mama. People online say the whole thing was low-key embarrassing. Neighbors allegedly saw police pulling up, and you know how fast word spreads in the neighborhood. It wasn't like she was arrested, but the sight of law enforcement at your house for something like this. That's enough to set the internet on fire. And let's not ignore the symbolism here. Police at Glo's house means the situation has officially left the private family circle and entered public record. Once the law gets involved, things can spiral out of control fast. Now the big question is, why? Why in the world would GloRilla, who has the world at her feet, allegedly threaten her label boss's mother? One theory is frustration. Some fans believe Glo has been frustrated with how CMG has been handling her career. While she had a strong debut, some argue she hasn't been pushed as much as other artists on the label. Rumors say she wanted more freedom, more control over her music, and wasn't happy being treated like just another artist. Another theory is family politics. Being signed to CMG isn't just business. It's almost like being adopted into Yo Gotti's extended family. That comes with loyalty expectations, respect, and hierarchy. If Glo clashed with Gotti's mom, some might see it as Glo not respecting the family dynamic. And then there's the darker possibility that whatever happened was personal. Maybe it wasn't about music or business at all. Maybe something personal was said or done that made Glo snap. We may never know the full story, but whatever it was big enough for Yo Gotti's mom to involve the law. As soon as the story hit the blogs, the industry had a field day. Some rappers were shocked, others cracked jokes, and some insiders hinted that this wasn't as surprising as it looked. They said Glo has always been fiery, always outspoken, and sometimes that temper can spill over. On social media, fans split into two camps. Some defended Glo, saying this is just another example of powerful families trying to control young artists. They argue that Yo Gotti's mom might be exaggerating, using her influence to put Glo in her place. Others said Glo messed up big time, that no matter what the beef is, you never go after somebody's mama, especially in the South where elders are deeply respected. Memphis fans especially were torn. On one hand, Glo is their hometown hero, someone who made it out and is shining a light on the city. On the other, going at Yo Gotti's mom is like crossing a sacred line in Memphis culture. What's interesting is that Glo herself hasn't said much publicly about the allegations. She hasn't gone on Instagram live to deny it. She hasn't tweeted a storm about it. She's been relatively quiet. And for someone as outspoken as Glo, that silence speaks volumes. Some fans think her team told her to stay quiet until things blow over. Others think the silence is her way of saying, y'all can believe what you want. But the bigger picture is CMG itself. This label has prided itself on unity. Gotti built it like a family. If one of his biggest stars is beefing with his actual family, that unity cracks. Moneybagg Yo, 42 Doug, ESTG. Everybody is watching to see how this plays out. If Gotti sides with his mom, which, let's be real, he almost certainly will, what happens to Glo's career at CMG? Does she get shelved? Does she leave? Or does she smooth it over behind the scenes? Whatever happens, this story already planted seeds of doubt about how solid CMG really is behind the scenes. This whole situation highlights a bigger issue in hip-hop, the collision of family and business. Labels like CMG operate less like corporations and more like families. Loyalty is everything, respect is everything, and disrespect can end careers. Where Yo Gotti enters the picture like a true boss. Word is that when GloRilla realized the police were there, she didn't face it alone. Yo Gotti himself allegedly got involved and made sure the situation didn't spiral. Now, depending on who you listen to, the way Gotti handled it plays out a little differently. Some say he showed up in person, calmly speaking with the officers, reminding them who he was, and making it clear that this wasn't a situation that needed to escalate. Others claim he simply used his connections, calling the right people at the right time and ensuring that law enforcement backed down before things went too far. Whatever version you believe, the end result was the same. GloRilla was not taken into custody, she wasn't paraded out in handcuffs, and the moment that could have been turned into a headline scandal instead fizzled out quietly. And that's not an accident. That's the result of Yo Gotti's influence, his relationships, and his deep understanding of how to move in these types of situations. Gotti isn't just a rapper or a label executive. He's a power player in Memphis, someone whose name carries weight both in the industry and in the streets. For GloRilla, having someone like that in her corner is the difference between disaster and survival. Now let's be real, not every label head would take that risk. A lot of executives would tell their artists, get a lawyer, handle it yourself, don't drag me into it. But Yo Gotti isn't every executive. He built CMG from the ground up, and his reputation has always been tied to loyalty, protection, and taking care of his people. For him, stepping in wasn't just about saving Glo. It was about protecting his empire. Think about the bigger picture. GloRilla isn't just an artist, she's a brand worth millions. She's booking festivals, doing features, selling records, and pulling in streams that add value to CMG every single day. If she goes down, even temporarily, that affects not only her but everyone else in the CMG circle. Rival labels could use it as leverage. Fans could lose interest. Sponsors could back away. That's why Gotti had to act fast and make sure nothing stuck to her name in that moment. And beyond business, there's also the loyalty factor. Glo has spoken openly about how Gotti believed in her, how he took a chance when other labels overlooked her. That bond works both ways. By saving her now, Gotti cements himself not just as a boss, but as someone Glo can trust through anything. What's especially striking about this whole situation is what it reveals about Yo Gotti's reach and influence. Because let's be honest, not everyone could pull this off. If an artist without protection or connections had the police show up, chances are they would have been taken in for questioning, if not worse. The fact that Gotti was able to turn the tide shows just how much respect and leverage he commands in Memphis and beyond. He's been building that influence for decades, carefully balancing his rise from a street rapper to a polished executive, all while never forgetting the importance of relationships. He knows how to talk to people, how to de-escalate situations, and how to protect his interests. That's why he's more than just an artist. He's a boss in every sense of the word. And moments like this are proof. Now let's talk about what this means for GloRilla going forward. On one hand, this situation could have been a nightmare for her public image. Had she been filmed being questioned or taken away, blogs and haters would run wild with narratives about her being reckless, out of control, or unable to handle fame. But instead, the story that's circulating is that she's so valuable, so important, that Yo Gotti himself had to step in and protect her. That changes the narrative completely. Instead of being seen as a liability, she's now being painted as someone worth saving, someone whose career is big enough to demand that kind of loyalty. It adds to her mystique. It makes her look powerful by association. But of course, there's also a flip side. People will whisper about whether she's too much trouble, whether she's stirring up beef behind the scenes, and whether she might be a ticking time bomb for CMG. Either way, one thing's for sure, people are paying closer attention than ever. So where do things go from here? Well, insiders believe Yo Gotti will likely tighten the circle around GloRilla, making sure that she doesn't get caught up in situations like this again. That might mean moving differently in public, being more cautious about what she says and who she associates with, and keeping her focus strictly on the music. At the same time, Gotti has to balance family loyalty with label loyalty, because if the rumors are true that this drama involved his mom, that's an incredibly delicate situation. But one thing we know for sure, Yo Gotti just proved that when it comes to his people, he doesn't hesitate. He doesn't sit back and let the industry tear them down. He steps in, and that's the kind of leadership that keeps CMG strong in a game where loyalty is rare. But artists like GloRilla are independent thinkers. They want to carve their own lane, they want freedom, and they don't want to bow down to anybody, even if that person is the label boss's mama. It's the classic clash of old school values versus new school energy. And when you add police involvement to the mix, the stakes get even higher. This isn't just about music anymore. It's about reputations, safety, and potentially even legal consequences. So family, what do y'all think? Did GloRilla really go as far as threatening Yo Gotti's mom, or is this just a messy rumor being blown out of proportion? And if it is true, do you think this could cost her career at CMG, or will Gotti find a way to protect both his mom and his artists at the same time? Drop your thoughts below, because this is one of the wildest CMG stories yet. And trust me, if more details come out about GloRilla, Yo Gotti, or this family fallout, you know I'll be right here to break it down for you. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to Gossip Spill Vibe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the tea. Because in this industry, the tea never stops pouring.